Welcome to This Explainer. Let's dive right in and explore a totally fascinating idea. What if lasting love isn't just some Hollywood fairy tale, but a fundamental biological imperative? Seriously, we've all been sold this idea that finding the perfect relationship is just about getting lucky or hoping the stars align. But what if I told you that building an enduring, blissful relationship is actually written into the very fabric of our cellular biology? Today, we are unpacking the hard science behind how we connect, why we sometimes fail, and exactly how we can reprogram ourselves for lasting harmony. To really set the stage for the science we're about to get into, listen to this incredible quote from the poet Rumi. "A lifetime without love is of no account. Love is the water of life." 8 centuries ago, a poet intuitively understood something that modern cell biology is only just now starting to actually map out in the lab. Love isn't just some abstract emotion or a cultural construct we invented. It really is the water of life. It's a foundational, biological growth factor for human beings.
But before we zoom all the way down to the cellular level, take a second and reflect on your own life. Are we biologically fated to fail at love? I mean, if you look at divorce statistics today, or honestly just look back at your own history of heartbreaks, it is so easy to become cynical. You kind of have to wonder, are our relationship struggles really just bad luck? Just a bad roll of the cosmic dice? Or is there some bad subconscious programming running the show? Is losing that initial magic just an inevitable biological reality? Well, let's find out. All right, let's kick things off with part 1, seeking the honeymoon effect.
To really grasp this, we have to look at the story of cell biologist Bruce H. Lipton. After going through a super painful divorce, he basically swore off marriage completely. Literally, he woke up every morning for 17 years repeating to himself, "I won't get married again." But then he had this profound scientific epiphany that flipped his entire worldview upside down. He realized that the honeymoon effect isn't just a fleeting teenage romance. It's an actual, scientifically achievable state of daily bliss, passion, energy, and health that comes from a huge love. You know that feeling where your life is just so beautiful you can't wait to jump out of bed? Lipton argues this isn't a random accident. It's a state we can sustain every single day, not just something that naturally expires after 6 months. Lipton figured out that creating this kind of heaven on earth isn't about finding a magic potion, and it's not even about finding the absolutely flawless partner. It's all about rewriting our subconscious beliefs by looking really closely at how nature itself operates. He realized we aren't controlled by our genes, we're actually controlled by our beliefs. So if we want to transform our relationships, we literally have to change those underlying beliefs by understanding our fundamental biology. Which brings us right to part 2, our biological drive to bond. Here is the absolute truth. Human beings are not meant to live alone. It's practically impossible to even conceive of a single form of life that exists completely unattached from everything else. Think about our fundamental biological imperatives: food, sex, growth, protection. Sure, reproduction is vital for a species, but for humans, the sheer drive to bond actually trumps it. Think about Tom Hanks in the movie Castaway. He's marooned on a deserted island. He figures out how to get food and shelter, but what does he do? He literally uses his own blood to paint a face on a volleyball just so he has someone to talk to. And in the end, he risks his life on a sketchy makeshift raft, not to find a better food source, but to find human connection. That is how overwhelmingly powerful our drive to bond really is. To truly get how natural this drive is, we need to compare the frantic, survivalist life of a single, isolated cell with the mind-blowing, cooperative perfection of the human body. Next time you look in the mirror, you probably think you're looking at a single entity, right? Well, that's kind of an illusion. You are actually a vast, bustling community. An isolated cell has to fend entirely for itself, constantly battling its environment just to stay alive. But inside you, your cells have figured out how to live together in a way that honestly puts human societies to shame. Just consider the massive scale of this community: 50 trillion. Let that sink in. You are essentially a skin-covered petri dish containing 50 trillion sentient cells, all living and working together in total harmony. They all have specific jobs, they have internal health care, they have protection, they even have a viable economy running on the exchange of energy molecules. 50 trillion citizens living peacefully together. When you think about it, if they can pull that off, figuring out how just 2 human beings can get along seems like it should be an absolute piece of cake. So, how exactly do they do it? Let's explore that in part 3, Nature's Repeating Fractal Patterns. If 50 trillion cells can cooperate flawlessly inside us, we can definitely learn to bond by understanding the basic geometry of nature. Here's the secret. Nature doesn't constantly reinvent the wheel. It relies on surprisingly simple, recursive math known as fractals. You literally just take a simple equation using basic addition, subtraction, and multiplication, solve it, reinsert that answer back into the original equation, and just keep solving it infinitely. When you repeat that process millions of times, these beautiful, incredibly complex, self-similar patterns emerge. The way trees branch out, the way rivers flow into tiny streams, even the airways inside your lungs, they all follow this exact same repeating mathematical pattern. The best way to picture this concept is like an as-above, so-below Matryoshka nesting doll. Just like those traditional Russian wooden dolls where every doll is just a smaller replica nested inside a larger one, nature nests its designs. There are absolutely no new functions in your incredibly complex human body that aren't already fully present inside a single microscopic cell. Your digestive system, your nervous system, your immune system, they all exist right there at the cellular level. What this means for us is huge. If we want to understand how humans can successfully bond and build lasting relationships, we just need to look at how our cells have already mastered it. And that finally leads us to part 4, trusting your good vibrations. Long before words or language were ever invented, the foundational communication tool of the entire universe was energy vibrations. Think about energetic waves as the literal difference between harmony, good vibes, and dissonance, bad vibes. Every single organism in nature reads energy to survive. Think of a gazelle spotting a lion in the brush. It doesn't walk over and ask if they can be friends, right? It immediately senses the bad vibes and runs for its life. This perfectly illustrates a totally disastrous mistake Bruce Lipton made with a neighbor down in Barbados. He got terrible, heart-pounding bad vibes from a guy who moved in next door, but he ignored his gut because he was trying to practice positive thinking. And the result? The neighbor eventually stole absolutely everything Lipton owned. So why did Lipton ignore his own visceral physical abhorrence of this guy? Because he was rationalizing the situation with words. This teaches us a really hard lesson. Language was actually designed to hide feelings. Our conscious, rational minds absolutely love words, but words can be so easily manipulated by a smooth talker or a deceptive partner. People use language every day to mask their true intentions, but energetic communication, it never, ever lies. Your gut feeling is literally your biological alarm system trying to safely guide you through the complex energetic waves of the world around you. Henry David Thoreau really hit the nail on the head when he said, "I believe that there is a subtle magnetism in nature, which, if we unconsciously yield to it, will direct us aright." The problem is, we've been programmed since childhood to completely ignore these gut feelings. We're told to stop being silly, to only listen to the words people are saying, and to be strictly logical and hyper-rational all the time. But relearning to trust this subtle magnetism, this innate biological ability to read energy and vibrations, is exactly what allows us to foster lasting, honeymoon effect relationships. It's all about tuning into the harmony of good vibrations, rather than talking ourselves into accepting dissonant ones. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with one final provocative thought to ponder. How will your own energy vibrations shape your reality as we transition away from an old Newtonian world focused purely on physical matter and into a quantum world that understands everything is fundamentally made of energy? I challenge you to recognize today that your relationships are not just random accidents of fate. They are a direct, energetic reflection of your own internal programming. If you truly want to change your relationships, you have to start by listening to your cells, trusting your vibrations, and changing the energetic frequency you put out into the world. Ultimately, that is exactly how you create your own heaven on earth.